Monuments are more than stone or bronze. They're America's soul. A stand against the rewriting of our history. A call to make our nation beautiful again. America's story didn't start in 1776. It stretches back to Athens' philosophers, Rome's lawmakers, and the Renaissance's visionaries. Our monuments, like Sabin Howard's A Soldier's Journey, carry those ideals forward, defying efforts to erase our heritage.
Sabin, what's the role of monuments in preserving national identity?
Well, it depends on what monument you're talking about. If you're making monuments that play forward the lineage of Western civilization, then you have a lot to talk about. That's something that's been with us for 2,000 years. Your values that are sacred. This is a physical object that manifests that sacred element of who we are.
For someone who focuses on text, on words, as a historian, I'm blown away by your ability to put human faces that evoke this human emotion about national identity on something that's 58 feet long in the middle of Washington, D.C. The question is, where did you get the inspiration? Can you remember that moment?
I go through this period of like, what am I going to do? And we have this moment in the studio where I go look at something in my bathroom. It's the poster of The Last Judgment by Michelangelo. And I hear in my head, do what you know. And as soon as I did that, I went back to what I've been doing for 35 years. And that's looking at live models on a dais and then really studying their energy. And this was not any different because history is about real human beings. It's not something that you read about books. There's a reality. These are human beings that had experiences that were epic and heroic.
These aren't relics. They're living defiance, linking America to a 2,000-year story of aspiration. From Greece to the 38 figures of A Soldier's Journey unveiled in 2024.
I'm in service of the visitors that come to learn our history. So I brought what I knew about looking at human beings and I started grabbing people and acting out scenes. And I put the history books down and I started looking at what would these people have actually gone through. And that's where it began.
And the era of art following World War I was particularly abstract. It was, in particular, removed people from that human emotion. And it seems as if you're inspired, at least in part, thinking about A Soldier's Journey as a form of resistance to that.
Yeah. The whole concept is human beings they're the ones that you're capturing what they went through. And motion is driven by emotion. So depending on how fast those figures are moving kinetically through space, you're telling a story about how they felt. And so if you start to look at it from that perspective of like, how fast are these people moving towards the future? And then you're all of a sudden looking at it from the perspective of like, what were they feeling? And that's the correct way to make a monument, because most of the people that come to look at monuments, they need to be hit in the chest in a visceral way and get elevated into the space of what those people went through.
World War I broke more than the earth. It shattered faith and meaning. Modernism rose, cold and fragmented, rejecting the past. Today, the left doesn't just forget history, they rewrite it.
World War I brings a decimation of 22 million people. That's the end of God, divine order. And now we're all of a sudden, we're in an alienated culture where Sartre and Camus come into play, and you're changing the whole game. That's what I was dealing with. I've been like in this paradigm. So I was born in 1963. I'm in a different paradigm. There is no God. And so this project brought me back to the foundations of like, who am I in service of? And that's what this is about, A Soldier's Journey. We're in service of something else, way bigger than ourselves.
And it seems as if here in the 21st century, a century after the conclusion of World War I, to very much to your point about what you're resisting against as an artist, that we're still very much in that mindset. If you think about literature and history and our politics, we're still such a divided nation in that regard. And so what I love about A Soldier's Journey, in addition to the history itself, is that it really is a monument not just to World War I and the heroes who gave their lives, but it's a monument to right divine order.
Yes, it is. There's a crucifix on that wall that has fallen right behind a shell-shocked soldier, and he's coming out directly at you. That's a representation of where we are today, and this is the end. In my mind, we're going to change that tsunami that hits the beach. We're going to bring beauty back. And if you think about it, World War I's that line in the sand. You get Marcel Duchamp and Dadaist out of France making a urinal. They're saying that's art. So the artist is now deciding to play God's role and bring something that has not a lot of value to, like the sacred value of what a human being is. And I'm in exact opposition to that. I'm saying human beings have value because we're made in God's image. And if you look at that, there are 38 different human beings, 38 different psychologies on that panel. That's a statement that human lives matter, and I'm making a war memorial. So hopefully this is a healing memorial because it changes what war does. War says human beings don't matter. Governments say, we can just eliminate as many people as we want. And I'm saying, no, you can't. That's what this is about.
In a cynical age, a monument's beauty is rebellion. It says, we are not machines. We are sacred, and our history is worth defending.
I've said for a long time, Washington, D.C. should be the most beautiful city in the world. And granted, there are parts of Washington that are. This is one of them. Lincoln Memorial is another. I could think of some other examples, but we have a long way to go. How optimistic are you, especially given the success of A Soldier's Journey and the public response to it, which has been very positive, that in our lifetimes, we might see Washington become beautiful?
My idea is like, this is the beginning of the American cultural renaissance. Nobody else is stepping up, so I'm going to step up my game. And it's like, yes, I do see that there is a possibility of making something that represents a great country. So I'm going to step into that void because no one else has.
So Sabin, tell me the story of A Soldier's Journey.
A Soldier's Journey is a soldier's journey. It begins with a dad leaving his daughter and wife, and then he's caught in a tug of war between his wife and service to country. And in the very, very middle, that dad now leads a battle charge. Cost of war follows. The dad has now paid the price of war in the shell-shocked soldier. And the final scene is the dad returning to his daughter, handing her the helmet. She's the next generation. It's World War II.
Sabin, one of the things that I've appreciated since I've gotten to know you is that this is a fight. Just doing A Soldier's Journey was a fight, but it's emblematic of a much larger fight of public memory in the United States.
Yes.
You're right in the middle of that.
Yeah, I am. I didn't realize it till I got in the project. You destroy history, you create a void, and then that void can be filled with a different system. It's a way to break down what binds us. History is a story that holds a culture and a people together because it's a shared experience. If you take that away, you can rewrite history. You can fracture the population. It's a very dangerous thing. It's a very planned and organized thing that's going on right now.
Monuments stand against despair and erasure, whispering, you are remembered. Your story matters.
This sculpture, the highest point on it is the flag. All the figures are below that level. They are underneath that umbrella. This monument is about our history. It should not be taken away from us because it's basically our story of the United States 100 years ago. And it has a very strong impact on how people see their country. Is there pride in our country? When you have monuments, there's pride. There's something to revel in. And that's the thing that we need to maintain.
History isn't a weapon to divide us. It's a bridge to unite us, a story of triumphs and struggles that binds us as Americans, despite efforts to tear it apart.
So I guess it makes sense that after enduring a couple of generations at least of really bad art, I mean, art that's not beautiful, that what follows that is a fracturing of our national identity as that relates to our public monuments. And you see an utter lack of courage by many elected officials, even on quote unquote our side, right of center politically, to stand up for not just the monuments per se, but what I'm driving at is national identity.
Yeah, it's the story. So let's look at this also from an artistic point of view. You get the decimation of an image of human beings, and now all of a sudden you're like making art that's not holistic in terms of representing a human being. It's only conceptual. So conceptual eliminates everything from the neck down. Human beings are head, heart, and if we really look at it, also hands, because we're builders. We're put on the earth as creatives. And if you are I'm not talking artistically, this is entrepreneurial as well. Our forefathers created the Declaration of Independence with the ideology that we should be able to create, because of the God-given gift of life, what we want to do with that energy. And if you take that away, you're not only taking it away from like one person, you're taking it away from a whole population. It's a way to funnel everybody and control them. And so a monument speaks about what can be, and it talks about rising to the occasion, especially when you got 60 feet, 38 figures, and 25 tons. That's something that makes a statement about like, okay, this guy did a big sculpture. You too can make something big out of your life.
When monuments are defaced, we don't just lose art, we lose our story. Honoring them reclaims a heritage that lifts us all.
For us in the United States, in any era, we need this because we're human. I also think about one of the reasons that I love the city of Budapest. Under the current administration over the last 15 years or so, they've invested billions of dollars in erasing the Soviet architecture, because that's not their patrimony, that's not their identity, and revitalizing a Hungarian identity. And I've said, in fact, at Heritage, we write about this, that if we're going to make America beautiful again, if we're going to make Washington beautiful again, we have to have that kind of public investment, which is a way of our elected officials saying, we know what's at stake. And what's at stake isn't just about beautifying a city, improving its architecture, as has happened in Budapest. It is about our soul as Americans.
Yeah, it is. I want to add something about soul and spirit to what you just said. When I was taught how to sculpt a figure, we were given armatures. That's the metal that holds the clay together. That armature was articulated like a human skeleton and proportioned like a human skeleton. Basically, a head size is stacked 7.5 times to make the proportions of a human body. Okay, where did that come out of? It came out of the Greeks, it came out of the Romans, it came out of people like Leonardo in the Renaissance. That is Western civilization. That already gives a proportion to man. Man is in proportion to the universe. He fits within a larger hierarchy. If you eliminate beauty, which is basically showing that structure of how divine order is assembled, you have now eliminated what it means to make human beings part of the universe and something way larger than themselves. You eliminate the sacred, you eliminate the sense that we belong to something larger than ourselves, and that's the objective. Brutalism is dehumanizing. That's very dangerous. It's because if you enter into a building like that, you're around stuff that looks like crap. How do you think you feel inside? You feel hopeless, you have no power, you have no ability to envision the limitlessness or the unlimited quality of the universe. You're put in a box. And that's not what this country's about at all.
Monuments aren't propaganda. They're a personification of our national heartbeat, pulsing with values that make us one.
This monument, A Soldier's Journey, is an act of resistance against the desire to tear down national identity. But secondly, the process of it and your fortitude through that process, because you knew what was at stake, was also an act of resistance against the over-bureaucracy of American art that we see here in Washington.
Yeah. The word veteran was not uttered one time at those meetings. Who is this piece for? First and foremost, it's a soldier's journey. So that tells you the whole game. And then if you make a monument like this and you make figures that are elevated, they're not at street level, they're elevated 38 inches above ground level, so you're looking up into them, and they're elegant and they're thought out, and they're all fitting together to make one unit, you're already making a statement that is the opposite of what's going on here in DC. This is taking Renaissance philosophy and not looking at it archaeologically, but you're playing it forward because you're in lineage of that, and you're making it in a way that is contemporary and understandable by a freaking 8th grader. And all of a sudden now you're dangerous because you're saying human beings are sacred. We are here because of something larger than ourselves. And that belief in itself that there is a God is not what Washington, D.C. is about.
How many Sabin Howards do we need in the next generation to be doing this kind of art, but also with the perseverance to overcome that bureaucracy?
I'm humbled by that question because it's not about me. And I really come across as like, okay, you're a great artist. Yeah, that's not what it's about.
You are a great artist.
Yeah, but I don't look at it that way. I'm in service of something way larger than myself. And I wouldn't be here if I didn't open up my ears and my head to accepting, and this is where I'm going with it. Philosophy drives form. So you need to go into the school systems and you need to re-evaluate the BS that is being taught. And you need to look at, like, what is it that makes a whole human being? Is it really just a bunch of information, or is it wisdom? And where does that wisdom come from? So you cannot make this unless you have a value system and a philosophy that is intrinsically tied to a hierarchy of millions of parts all put together to make a oneness.
A nation's culture is its soul. Monuments are its backbone, telling our story in stone and bronze against those who would rewrite it.
As we have been here today having this conversation, I've noticed a few families walk up, and I've paid particular attention as a dad of 4 kids to the response, the reaction of the children. And they stop and they're aghast because it's beautiful, but think about how rare it is for them to see something that beautiful. We need to see, as you're saying, that kind of beauty, that groundedness of philosophy in the education that they're receiving.
Yeah. Education is the way you perceive reality, and it creates your belief system. So whatever you have in your head is the way you see the world. We really need to deal with that on a very structural basis. That's where it begins.
Letting monuments crumble or tearing them down leaves us a nation without a story, adrift in our own history. Our monuments aren't just art. They're our identity, our answer to the question, who are we?
Do Americans today care as much about monuments as they did 50 years ago?
I think today we got an enemy. It's not only the government, it's also technology. A monument is made by hands. It's made by heart, it's made by head. We haven't changed. We haven't changed since 2,000 years ago. We're still people that have families, that have wives, that have children, that are driven by story. Story is what makes us human. And monuments tell stories that bind, that bring us together. And so, yes, they are as important as ever, especially when you have an enemy that's rising and is trying to dehumanize the globe and control who gets the power. So a monument gives the power back to the populace. This country cannot survive and be its best self unless monuments continue to educate and empower we, the people.
Our monuments stand watch, silent, steady, eternal. They call us to fight for what's good, true, and beautiful in America, to protect our memory from those who would erase it.
So if our fellow Americans are inspired by a soldier's journey, inspired by your own personification of what it means to be in the fight, what can they do knowing that they love this country? That's why they're paying attention to this conversation.
Monuments have to go into the private sector. Medici created the best art in a 50-year span in a very small, centralized place called Florence. We are a great country. Why can we not do the same thing that the Medici did in Florence in the 1500s? So I am asking the donors and patrons that can make this happen to step up, fill the void, and begin to take the bull by the horns and drive that bull into something that is built and speaks about rising to the occasion.
I love that, because at Heritage, as you know, while we talk about very important things, as we've done, we also want to give people a homework assignment, as I like to call it. And in this case, I agree with you fully that we need to get back into this country to that phase of private people funding beautiful art. But in the interlude, Americans, I think, can also play another role. Maybe Americans who don't have access to that large amount of capital, right, where they can invest in these kinds of sculptures, and that is to put pressure on elected officials at the federal level, the state level, often the local level, right? That's where a lot of these decisions to erase our national identity are made, to show up to those city council meetings, but also we do all kinds of crowdfunding for all kinds of projects. Why can't we do that at $25 a pop?
Yeah, that's true. And the other thing I want to add to that is, like, let's reevaluate what the school system's teaching to our young generation. And if parents can get involved and fight the BS that's going on and really go back to teaching sacred values about building our country up rather than tearing it down, now you got another ball game.
To forget our monuments is to forget who we are. To honor them is to rebuild our nation's soul. Stand up, protect them, and make America beautiful again.
I'm also a big fan, and have written a lot about this in the last few years, that the most important conversations we have are around our dinner table. Doesn't matter what your family looks like, whatever that composition is, maybe it's with your roommates, but around the dinner table. And what we need to be doing around the dinner table is revivifying our love, our natural orientation toward beautiful art. That has to happen, and it's possible for anyone to do, right?
Yeah, it is. It actually is. You have a Sunday dinner with your wife and your children, and you bring to that table a conversation that might lead those kids to a different place than what someone else or the public or the PR or the media is discussing. You're reestablishing what it means to be human. And that's the first and foremost thing. Let's make human beings rise to the occasion. Let's get them to see, oh, the box is not what I'm being told it is. It's like, you're born in this country. It's a huge gift. You can do anything you want. I mean, I'm an example. I'm 19 years old. I couldn't even draw. And then look at what I made. It's 60 feet long right behind me. And I couldn't have done this in any other place except the United States.
And for the American who says, well, I can't really play a role in this, you're a guy who never thought that he would do public art like this, right?
I had a come to Jesus moment where I realized that it's on you. It's self-responsibility. The only thing that holds you back is this. So the work that needs to be done up here, I'm asking every single citizen of this country to get on with it. Start taking self-responsibility. Do your homework. Do what it takes to become your best version so that you can create your best version in whatever you do.
Sabin Howard, you're a great American. Thank you so much.
I'm honored. Thank you, Kevin.
The honor's mine.
Really appreciate it.
This is our heritage. This is our fight. This is our America. Join us. Protect our monuments. Defend our history. Make America beautiful again by honoring what made us great.